2 or 3 years, I think. It's been a little while. Been through different positions with her. So, but right now I work with IU Health, and I hire mainly our downtown area professional positions. But we are a very big organization. We have over 34,000 employees. So we have pretty much any type of opportunity that you can think of, we probably have it. I think a lot of people think of healthcare and think, nurses or something that's a clinical nature, but it takes all types of positions to make us function. So we have lots of opportunities.
And I can follow up after Christy because I'm also with IU Health, so not too much different stuff. And I love your mug, Christy. Just have to point that out. So I help hire for our rehab team across the state. So anyone from like rehab techs up to like our physical therapists, occupational therapists, anything therapists really. So a lot of different options there. But we've got so many places for people to start if they're trying to get learn about just like the different therapy realm and if that's something they're interested in getting into. And then we have some different programs to help people even go back to school if that's something they're looking to do to stay in that field. But yeah, like Christy was saying, it takes, all sorts of different, people and activities and, just so many different areas that I didn't even necessarily know before I started here. So it's been a lot of fun. And like Christy was saying too, I've been doing this for several years now. I don't even know, like 4 or 5 years maybe. Like,
I feel like we started in like 2016 maybe or something like that.
Yeah. So it's been great. So we definitely love to, get together and chat with everyone and, see everyone each time. But yeah, any questions you have, I'm sure one of us has experienced something, or even if you don't ask, I'm sure we'll share some fun stories with you. But yeah, I had a retail background and then also now healthcare. So hopefully, a little bit of something to help you out.
And I'll go last. I'm Pam Elliott, and I know my screen name, because I sign in through work, it doesn't show my screen name. It's like, what is that? So I'm Pam Elliott. I'm at Verizon. I've been with Verizon 14 years, and right now I hire for retail sales across Indiana and Kentucky. And like the other ladies, have been part of this group for, I think it is 4 years, close to it. Doing the HR panel for Dress for Success. So yeah, between us all, we've probably experienced quite a bit. So yeah, we can probably handle whatever question you throw at us.
Well, Carmen, do you want to maybe introduce yourself and let them know what you're looking for or what you're interested in, or maybe about your background?
Yes, thank you. Thanks, ladies, for introducing yourself so that I could feel confident about who's here to help me succeed today. I really appreciate that. My name is Carmen Malone, and I have a background in business, human research, and actually education to a certain extent. Most recently, I've done a director's internship with a college in Northern Indiana. And prior to that, I had worked for Eli Lilly, negotiating their clinical trial budgets for over 6 years. And the way that I actually got to Eli Lilly is through Indiana University Health. I worked there 11 years in neuroscience research. And so it was a wonderful position where I started at an entry level as a research technician and then trained my way up into a recruiter position, and from there being a lab manager over basically one lab in the GCRC on the 5th floor of IU Health. And through that position, we also had a lab that I managed in the VA. And from there, in that position, I also helped to bring up labs in 3 different countries to do the same type of research that we did in our lab at IU Health. So as you can tell from my discussion about it, I really enjoyed the work, what I did, training the employees, also working with the investigators here in the United States, as well as in Israel, Germany, and Japan. So I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy working with people. So that's the type of thing that I hope to be able to bring to any other position that I come into, working with people, bringing my business skills to an organization, and enjoying the work that I do so that I can do it and that it comes across in a good way. Any questions for me?
So
Okay.
Carmen, are you thinking you want to stay in the same field then, like the research side, or because you've done quite a bit? So which particular area are you looking for, or are you just open?
I am very open. Thank you, Pam. I'm very open. During the time that I've been looking for a new position, I've also done training in culinary. So I'm comfortable working in a kitchen. I'm kitchen certified. I'm also very comfortable learning to manage a kitchen, or even being the director or a executive of an organization that has a kitchen that they're starting. So I'm very flexible.
All right.
You don't have my culinary resume in front of you because that's not precisely what I'm looking for. As you said, I have several transferable skills, especially in my background. So whether it's medical research, which has a very technical side, analytical side, and a very patient, or may I say customer focused side that considers the research patient and what has to go into being able to perform a role like that, considering the safety of everyone involved. So I'm open.
Okay, great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Gloria,
So I
are
do
you
have
back
a
in?
few more questions. Hello?
My internet went out for a minute, so I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, we were just giving intros real quick. So happy to do that really quick so that you can hear that as well. And then we'd like to hear what you're looking for too. But I'm Christy Perkins. I work with IU Health. Mainly work for our downtown area positions, our downtown hospitals, kind of professional level positions. But we have over 34,000 employees, so very big organization and lots of opportunities.
Yeah, and once again, I'll piggyback off Christy again. I'm also with IU Health, and so I help hire for across the state at all of our locations for, and all of them that are part of the hospitals at least, for our rehab positions. So anything like rehab tech, or like any of the assistants, or just the therapists themselves. So anything in the rehab realm, really, and lots of great opportunities here, and also, you know, hopefully we have just a lot of good knowledge to share with you in general.
And Gloria, I'm Pam Elliott. I'm with Verizon, and I hire for the retail stores for Indiana and Kentucky.
My name is Gloria Combs, and I am a student in social work, currently looking to finish school, and my future aspirations are to get in the world of education, specifically with adult learners. I have a passion that I've developed being an adult learner myself, to really help and make an impact on individuals' lives so that they're able to make sustainable income, and connecting them to the right resources that make their education opportunities more accessible. And so once I graduate, that's what I hope to be doing with my social work degree.
That's awesome. When are you set to finish up school, Gloria?
I graduate in May of 2021, and I've been working diligently. It's not the easiest thing to do full time. I'm at the point where I'm going to start my practicum. That's all I have left, and I'm really excited about getting that off the ground. I'm also a little worried because due to the pandemic, a lot of opportunities that were once on the table are not. And so for a little while, I got discouraged about being able to finish my degree because I have to have that practicum.
It's definitely a unique time. I do, I think at first a lot of organizations were kind of in panic mode of like, oh, we don't know what to do. But I think things are kind of settling in a little bit, and I think people will find, alternative options, and you'll be able to get through it.
Thank you.
Well, what questions do you guys have?
Okay, well, I'll jump back in here. From what I shared, was there anything that was not clear or confusing? This is a little different for me, having I'll say interview with 3 different people for not a specific job. So can you tell me what might make it easier or clearer if you were helping me find a real position? Do you all have my resumes?
I wasn't able to open it, actually.
Same. I was just about to say that.
Okay, well, I did, let's see, Pam, I was
Yep.
able to resend it. Were you able to get it and open it?
I have. I just got it pulled up.
Okay, so for Christy, I wonder if, Liz, are you able to share it again, or would you like for me to send it directly to them by email?
Carmen, I can, I'll message you their email addresses if you want to try to send it directly and see if maybe that works instead of Liz or I being the middleman. Is that okay?
That sounds fine.
Cool. Give me just a second to pull up their email addresses, and I'll message them to you on Zoom.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, cool.
Kelly, it could be our VPN too, so if it doesn't work, we might want to try hopping off of that.
Yeah, I was wondering that. Good call.
And so Carmen, and if it doesn't, I can send it to Christy and Kelly because I have their addresses, their
Okay.
emails too. So
That'd be
we'll get
perfect.
it in some way. Yeah. But I think just thinking, kind of your lead in, tweak it a little bit depending on what type of role you're applying to. So if you were going towards maybe the research side, then highlight your experience on the research side. Or if you're headed towards, the managing of a kitchen or a restaurant, and then highlight those skills. So I think depending on where you ultimately end up applying, your resume can be the same, but as you're highlighting your skills, make sure those are the ones that are at the kind of the top of the list. You don't want to ignore everything or any of it really, but to your point, a lot of that's transferable skills, but just put at the forefront the ones that will actually benefit, coworkers coming in, and the ones that will benefit that particular position.
Yes.
I think in addition to what Pam is saying, another thing would be really helpful is it's really good to be open and be interested in multiple opportunities, but when you're going in for an interview for a role, you want to make sure that you really have a kind of a more clear direction of what you're looking and where you're looking to go. Because sometimes when you're interviewing someone, if they say that they're open for anything, it's hard to really hone into what they're really passionate about or what they have the best skills for. So I think just making sure that you're able to kind of hone in a little bit and have a clearer direction on the role that you're interviewing for would be helpful.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, this is
And one
kind of
thing-
rare. Yeah, this is a rare situation.
It definitely is. And like they were saying, I mean, it sounded like when you started talking, I was like, oh, wow, like what, great experience and everything. But, towards the end, I was like, okay, great. What area are we trying to get into? So, like what they were saying, like, I feel like I was, very impressed throughout all of it, really. But at the end, I felt like I was left a little unsure, just full disclosure. But I would say in your instance, just really utilizing that cover letter, I feel like will be key as well, because, I know, me personally, we have so many different roles we help hire for. And so sometimes if we look at your resume, we're like, okay, great, I think this is what they want. But if you've got that cover letter and you can really, explain a little bit more and expand a little bit more on what specifically it is you're trying to do, I think that would go a long way to helping you get to the right person, and also help the recruiter, whoever it is looking at it, be able to direct you to the right person too.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like she said, we often, often the recruiter is going to be your first step. So you've got to get through them to get onto, the hiring manager. And oftentimes the recruiter is hiring for multiple positions, like she said. But that could also mean, like, for example, I hire all of our like clinical research positions downtown. So I'm aware of the different research opportunities. And so if you were to apply to one of them, and I might, read your cover letter, and if it's got a really clear direction of what you want, I might realize, oh, she would be a great fit for this opportunity. So I think it'll help you with that as well.
Okay, perfect. So you're a person that I could communicate with directly regarding what you might have open in some
Yeah.
of your research roles. Okay, thank you. So we can communicate after this, Christy. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
And
What
so,
else is on your,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, as far as another question, it seems like from some of my experience hiring for, let's say, the research lab, when I worked down at IU Health downtown, when I was looking for technicians for other investigators, clinical research investigators, sometimes there was difficulty finding a fit based on sometimes people coming right out of college, trying to get some research experience so they could go on to like medical school. Right now is a really unique time, and in the healthcare industry, I'm sure that it's even more unique, as far as the face-to-face and the social distancing, and even in retail, some of the same thing, people being in the local extension stores and how they're interacting with customers. What is the unique thing right now that helps you, as hiring managers to find that right fit for the actual location that's looking for employees? Do they need people that are willing to, well, the remote work wouldn't work in either of those instances. So what helps the person to actually get into a position quickly? Or are we talking about jobs that maybe the person wouldn't even be coming into the position for another few months after the social distancing is all worked out?
So I can at least speak to how we're handling that at IU Health. And I think a lot of companies are adapting and, really figuring it out. For us, we've been able to not really disrupt our process. So obviously we can't be having, additional visitors in our hospitals. So we're doing interviews like this. So video interviews. And then depending on the position, you'll start remote. For your training, and then come on site, and they have things in place. You have to wear a mask to be in our buildings and things like that. So we've been able to work out ways to not interrupt that process. And I think a lot of companies are developing their own kind of procedures for that. And another thing that we're doing is like orientation. So day one, typically you have a group orientation. We're doing that virtual as well. So you're doing that from home. So I don't know for sure if that was the question you were asking. I think so. If that's not what you're looking for, let me know.
Yeah, thank you. That's part of it. I appreciate that. The other part of my question kind of has to do with the onboarding process of getting the employees hired, actually getting them started, and how long that seems like it's going to take in this unique environment.
Yeah, I would say just kind of similar to what Christy was saying, but with my roles particularly, like we haven't done any sort of hiring freezes or anything like that. So it's kind of just taking kind of the same as it normally has been. So I mean, some roles just take a little bit longer because it's a more specified role and things like that, and just figuring out the technology and things like that maybe cause a little bit of a delay with people. But I think my whole team's biggest thing is just just the candidate's willingness and ability to be like adaptable and flexible during this whole time, because I mean I've got people that are doing instead of, you can't go in and job shadow, so they're doing like a FaceTime with you and walking you around into the areas that you're allowed to go in and things like that. So definitely just trying to be creative and do the best we can with all that. But I would say my quickest people probably get hired in, I would say probably like 4 weeks, honestly, if realistically, but sometimes a little bit faster, but that's probably the average. But I've definitely got some that take a little bit longer than that. So I think it just depends on the specific role and, exactly what you're doing. But for the most part, I know a lot of our leaders are still, staying on top of it, still trying to get people in, because all of our jobs are still busy, especially in my outpatient world. Once that started opening up some more again, it's gotten busier and busier. So I know they're still working on that. So just being adaptable and flexible, and just even if you have an idea of something that could help help that interview process, I'm sure they would be happy to talk about it too.
And ours is a little bit different than Kelly and Christy. And obviously with our retail and being face-to-face, our training already and our onboarding was already pretty much virtual prior to all of this. But just to share a little, we had new hires starting in March. We had new hires starting in April in the stores, but our stores closed. So what we've done with all of the retail, actually, they were redeployed into other roles. So they're working from home. And even my new hires that started in April, we still started them. They just started, and then they did something different than what they expected. So, Kelly hit on it, being that flexible and adaptable, it's been a necessity in this world. Now, our retail stores are opening back up. We're on target to have all of them across the nation open back up by the end of July if things proceed with all the states like we think they're going to. But it is going to be different. So for us, it's one-on-one now, and there's not the lines that we traditionally had in our retail stores. So we are revamping some things, and like Kelly and Christy stayed busy. My role shifted because we didn't have anything to hire. But we do know going forward that everything will continue to be virtual from an interviewing perspective. We were already doing video interviews for my role. So it was not my role. For what I do, I was video interviewing. The managers were not, but now they will be. They will not have the face-to-face interviews. They'll have the video interviews. So I think that's really the big change that we've seen. We do anticipate that we'll start hiring probably in the fall. But again, just continuing to reevaluate as we open back up the stores. But for us, video interviewing is here to stay.
Okay, thank you. That was very helpful, because I've wondered, are there actually fewer jobs, or are there just as many jobs and we don't know how to get to them and what it looks like getting into that job and starting to do it? So do you feel like there are just as many jobs, and are you saying that yes, it's just taking us a little extra time for the processing of getting people started into their jobs?
I'll share real quick for us. I think there's still just as many jobs. They're just in different areas. So while we're not hiring in retail, we are hiring for like our home-based agents and our call centers. We're also hiring for our business sales team. So ours is just shifted at Verizon. For the time being, we're not hiring necessarily into the retail world. We're hiring into other departments.
I think for us in particular, there are probably more jobs just because we've had to ramp up some additional teams just to respond to COVID. So we've had to create a virtual hub and screening, and have had to hire additional nurses and things to staff those areas. But our other areas, labs, research, that hiring hasn't stopped. I think that it has been a little slower than normal just because our leaders are so busy in those areas and labs and things like that because of COVID, just because of the nature of their work. They're very, very busy. So they haven't stopped hiring, but I think we're seeing the interview process take more like a month rather than like 2 or 3 weeks. It's just taking an extra week or two just to get through the interviews and get through the virtual interviewing. But I do think just in general, I think for companies, you're going to see both. I think that some companies have done a hiring freeze, so they might not have as many positions or any positions available at this time when you're looking. And then I think you'll see other companies like Verizon where they're shifting their, shifting their focus because they can do that. So I think in general in a job search, you're going to see both. It really just depends on the company and kind of the nature of their work, I think.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I don't want to dominate the conversation, so I'll let someone else ask now.
Gloria, do you have any questions?
Yes, actually. So when you are looking, for a job, I've been told mixed things when it comes to resumes and having those kind of standout words. How important is that when someone is reviewing your resume to see those keywords? I know you mentioned about having a more specific resume. How important is that, and utilizing parts of the description in the job posting? Is that something that you all look for?
We're all laughing here. Who wants to take it first?
I can start. So I think, Gloria, I think we're laughing because, you're saying that you're getting mixed advice. So that's something I think when it comes to resumes, you could talk to 10 different people in HR and get 10 different answers. And I know that's not what you want to hear, and that's not super helpful, but that's just the reality. I think everybody views that a little differently. For me personally, I don't look for, the buzzwords that are in my job description to be on a resume. What I always say is just, utilize the cover letter to outline any skills that you want to highlight. And if there's something that they call out in the job description that you've done before, maybe they say, they want you to have experience using a certain system. Certainly call it out, in your cover letter or resume. But those buzzwords that are like, oh, we want you to be, a team player. You don't necessarily need to, I don't look through those. I do know that some companies have a software system that puts your resume through it, and it'll match it up, and it'll kind of rank you based off of other applicants. I don't know if Pam or Kelly have ever used one, but I know that it exists. So I know that that's not super helpful, honestly, but I would just say, tailor your resume as best you can and utilize your cover letter, and in your cover letter really call out, your experience but also your passion and why you're interested. I think I really feel like nowadays we're shifting a lot more towards being the right fit for a team. And I think companies are understanding more that a lot of those on the job skills you can really learn and be trained, but being a good fit for the team is something that's hard to be taught, if that makes sense. So I think that those interpersonal skills are becoming more and more important. So I think it's important to highlight those rather than some of the buzzwords on the job description.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And like Christy was saying, it's so hard because everyone is so different. I feel like we're all usually fairly aligned for the most part, which is helpful, but everybody has like their different advice and stuff. And like, I would say like, if you had one of the buzzwords on there, it might, draw someone's attention to it a little bit more. But like Christy was saying, like, we are just looking for like that best fit. The only thing that I always like to point out is, because like in my world, since I hire a lot of just these different therapists and there's so many different certifications they can have, just keep in mind that sometimes the person reviewing the application doesn't know every certification in the world. And so, so I'm learning new ones every week, honestly. This is just like full disclosure, recruiter life. And so, so just, make sure if you're like a certified hand therapist, instead of just like CHT, you put certified hand therapist maybe on there, because I know, like, even though I know that, not everybody necessarily would if they're in the recruiting world, and then that will help make sure they pass it along to the next team that would look at it, which would be like the hiring leader and supervisor and stuff.
And Gloria, I know Christy kind of touched on this. We don't use at Verizon, we don't use the tracking system that looks for keywords. So we don't have anything that's going to kick you out if you don't use specific keywords. And like Christy said, I think it's really, we've shifted to how are you going to fit in the team. So do you have those soft skills, those transferable skills that we can use and that are going to make you successful? So it's not necessarily, I hire for salespeople, but it's not necessarily do you have 5 years of commission sales anymore? It's, are you going to be able to come in and do you want to learn the product and can you fit within the team? Now, I say we don't use keywords on the applicant tracking system, but I'm going to share a pet peeve since we haven't shared any yet. I'm going to share one, and this will kick you out of the system. So our application process, unfortunately, it's still a long process. It's about 40 minutes to get through our application, the entire part. There's an assessment once you get through the initial part. But the very beginning on the application, it asks for work experience. And you can pull in from some of your social sites, so you can pull in from LinkedIn. Just check to make sure it's pulling in correctly. But there is also a box you can check that says no prior work history. Do not check that, no matter what, because my guess is more like this than just us. If you check that in the Verizon applicant system, it will kick you out and you will never get to a recruiter, because we do have a specific amount, and it's really small. I think it's 3 months now of work experience that you have to have. But by clicking that box, it says you have no work experience, and it will kick you out of the system. So even if the application seems to be really long, devote the time to it. It shows us that attention to detail and that you are serious about applying to our position or our company.
And Gloria, something else is, looking for a social work position. So I know for us at IU Health, when we're hiring, nurses, social workers, positions like that require, a specific clinical licensure or some kind of license, then your experience isn't always as important, if that makes sense. So, obviously, if we're looking to deploy you on a specific unit, you might need to have that experience. But most often when you're coming out as a new grad, it's not necessarily the experience that we're looking at. We're looking, okay, does this person have the right licensure for the position? And then I think the other big thing for us is what drew you to that field? Why are you passionate about it? Why do you want to do that? So that's big for us. IU Health is really, really big on compassion. And so I think in your line of work in particular, highlighting in a cover letter just where that passion comes from and what drew you to that and why you want to do that is really beneficial.
Thank you. I thought all the feedback was very, very helpful because even though it's still like, well, we look for this, we look for this, we look for that. I think the information that you all did give helped me out a little bit more. I think anytime I usually apply for a job, I've been at my particular job for almost 8 years now. And so I don't have a lot of versatile experiences, specifically working with adults, but being able to critique my resume for more specifics, because I have a very simple resume, and so developing that to be more specific is something that I'm going to work on.
I think that's great. The other piece too, and the three of us have seen this as we've done the HR panel as well as the mock interviews, is we tend to downplay what we've done. So you said you had a basic resume. You probably have done a lot more than what you have on your resume. It's just, have somebody else look it over, kind of talk to you about what you do in your day-to-day, because my guess is, based on what we've all experienced, is that you do a lot more than you think you do.
It's true. And even though
I think,
oh, sorry, you go ahead.
That's an area that I struggle in. We talked about this in one of the other sessions. When you do have those things to showcase, for me, I won't speak for all women, but just for me, it can feel like you're bragging. Sometimes you hold back some things that you are good at. And one of the facilitators mentioned that men don't usually have that problem, and they're able to articulate their skills and their talents and what they can provide for the company, and that women have issues expressing that. I believe that I have a lot to offer, but it's very challenging for me to articulate that on a resume without feeling like I'm bragging. So then I struggle, and I don't know where that even balance comes in to showcase what I have, because I have a lot to offer, but I don't know always how to communicate that in a resume.
You're exactly right. Unfortunately, that is, I think, something that a lot of women struggle with. I don't think that men necessarily have that problem. But I would just encourage you that, know that in an interview and in a job application, that is your time to brag. That is you selling yourself, and that's, you showcasing your experience and your successes is not in any way a negative thing. And it's not something that we, as an interviewer, as someone reviewing your application, we do not look at that as something that's negative. And it is your time to kind of shine and make sure that we know everything that you bring to the table. So I know it's hard. Trust me, I've struggled with that too. Being in this job has helped me not struggle with that, honestly. But I just definitely would encourage you to practice, having those conversations, stand in front of a mirror and do a little rundown of your experience and practice and get comfortable saying it out loud, because I think that's part of the struggle is you feel so weird saying it and so uncomfortable saying it. And so the more that you practice saying that out loud, the more comfortable you'll be with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing that I was just going to add, I know we were saying, we don't really care about having all those buzzwords from the job description on your resume, but if you feel like you are struggling finding like, what can I bring to the table here? And like they were saying, I'm sure have a million things you could add to that resume. But sometimes I've found even like when I was looking for this job, I've been here for about 6 months now, and Christy was a big help to me when I was going through some of that. But I just kind of tried to look at the job description and look at each bullet and be like, okay, they're looking for somebody with this. Now, what have I done, whether it was in, volunteering or with, a previous job or things like that, even if I feel like it doesn't relate to healthcare, like how can I maybe just, spin it so that they know, like I do have that sort of experience. So like I'm saying, don't necessarily try to just throw everything from that job description on there, but if you find that you're struggling figuring out even where to begin, sometimes I do find looking at a job description in a position you're trying to do can kind of help at least get the juices flowing a little bit. And I know I had like, I don't know, like 10 pages of just like scribble. Like I literally wrote down what I wanted to say and I said it like 20 times out loud and it felt embarrassing, but I literally like talked to myself on my way to my interview. So, and I've been doing this for like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years now. So don't be worried to, talking to yourself, in your car or anywhere really.
The practice helps because, when we're on the other side of the table, it's just as difficult for us. So,
Thank you, ladies. This is Carmen again. And let's see, were you all able to access then my resume? And if so, if you don't mind taking a look at it and letting me know what are the positions in your organization that come to mind that I might be a fit for. And now I'm not saying I'm committing you to any of that. I'm just trying to get an idea of a situation if my resume was made available to a recruiter or a hiring manager and it did not have a specific job description that I had assigned to it. What are some of the areas that you would see? What are some of the things that you would, question for me in that area that it might be better if I made clearer on my resume in a better way? And I would say maybe a position that's not just an entry-level position, since I've had experience in a lot of different areas. Would there be difficulty with you bringing me in for an interview for a higher level position?
I'm still having issues pulling it up. Sorry. So I can't really look at it still yet.
and I will say, Carmen, for me, especially in this market, so the Indianapolis market, the majority of our roles are sales and network. So we don't have, we have the position, so we have finance, just again, kind of like Kelly and Christy, just about any position you could think of. We have it. It's just not here in the local market. So for here local, it's going to be sales roles, whether that's retail sales or business sales or supporting our indirect team, or the network side, which is definitely growing. The others are in what we call our hub markets. And so more like Alpharetta, Georgia is a hub. The Chicago area is a hub. And we have a couple out west where they house more of our big umbrella admin type roles.
And Carmen, so I haven't seen it quite yet, but I can at least share, I know what we have right now. So I personally hire our lab managers system-wide and a lot of our clinical research positions. Right now, I don't have any lab manager openings. And I do have a couple of clinical research positions, but right now I just have an RN clinical research role, so you have to be a nurse. And then I have a clinical research assistant, and I think that would be too entry level just based off of the experience that you gave. So I'll definitely get with Pam and get your resume and kind of add it to our system so that way as we have more of those positions come available, then I can certainly reach out and we can connect.
Okay, thank you all. I just sent it again and included Kelly and Christy with the email that Tiffany gave me. So if you can check again to see that you got it. And thank you, Pam. So Pam, for those other roles that you were talking about in the Chicago area or Atlanta area, are any of those roles open to remote or telecommuters, or does the person have to physically live within a certain zip code? And maybe the three of you communicate with me how that works. Are you looking for a person in a specific zip code, even if the person sitting in the resume says that they're willing to relocate?
So I'll touch on a couple of things. If they're looking to relocate, absolutely, they're going to consider them for whatever role they're applying to. As far as being remote, so say someone's applying for a position in Atlanta, but they live here in Indianapolis and there's no intention to move. I will, being completely candid, prior to March, I would have said absolutely not. We very quickly moved 135,000 employees to home. So we've shown we can do it. So I think some things are being reevaluated. Like I said, in February, had you been in that session, I would have said no. Going forward, that may change. I'm not sure we're there yet, but it may change going forward.
Okay. All right. And so, Pam, on those positions where it's kind of tentative like that, will the position specifically say that remote candidates are considered, or only candidates that live in this area? If I was to look up a position like what you were talking about on the Verizon website under careers.
Yes, it does say, so it'll list out, we have positions that sometimes are posted for multiple locations. It'll list out the locations that it can be in. It'll also say if it can be virtual or remote. We have, as I mentioned, the home-based agents. That's actually in their title. It says HBA or home-based agent. So the positions, they are very clear as to what that expectation is as far as a location or whether it's a virtual.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do you have any other questions for me at this time?
I did get your resume, so I will look through it and add it to our system so that we have it. And then, like I said, that way as additional things come open, then we can definitely connect.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Gloria, did you have anything else? Are you still on?
Yes. I don't have a question or anything, just a comment. I just really appreciate you ladies coming together to provide this panel. I think one of the biggest barriers to women being employed is having access to the opportunities for meetings like this. So it was very informative, and I always love when I can take away something from a workshop. The whole experience of this EDGE program has really helped me, and I really appreciate the opportunity because the things that I learned, I can apply today. And so I'm really appreciative for that opportunity. So I will be telling other people about this program.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
You're definitely taking a really good step to kind of kick off, your career in social work by doing Dress for Success. It's a great program, and they're fantastic to work with. So
Definitely.
Hey, Gloria, did you end up getting that scholarship that you applied for last week?
So I did. I am still in shock, and I think sometimes when so many things have been taken from you and you get to a point where people want to do for you, it's hard to accept sometimes because it's like, okay, well, how long is this going to last? So the interview went really, really well. We had a Zoom meeting, and the interviewers, they kind of had very relaxed clothes on, and I had on like my best blazer, and my bun was like very pure. I kind of felt a little weird, like, oh no, this is laid back and here I have this bun. This is going to be weird. But they complimented me like, thank you for dressing up. You know, you came to the interview, and to my surprise, they already had me selected as a recipient, but they just wanted to learn more about me. And when they told me the ladies' Zoom went out, so it's like I kind of heard, but then I didn't, so I didn't want to get excited. And we clicked back in, and they let me know that my last semester of school will be paid for. And that just lifted a burden off my shoulders. And it's just truly undescribable how I felt. But I'm even more grateful because we had that conversation prior to the meeting. So I went in the meeting very confident, not confident like, oh, I'm going to get this scholarship, but just confident, you know, expressing me and being me. So I just feel really good and really excited.
Oh, we're excited for you. Congrats. I wondered if you had gotten that. She had an interview for the scholarship on last Tuesday, the day that we did phone interview. So she did that, and then she had that call later on. So I'm glad that you got it. That's awesome news. Congrats.
Thank you.
Excellent. We knew you could do it, Gloria.
Thank you, Carmen.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well,
And for the ladies on the panel, thank you again. I know we're at the top of our time. Do you have time for just one more question, or should I hold it?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
good.
Okay, thank you. One of the things that has been shared with us in the workshops is about pay, talking about pay during the interviews. And so since we have at least 2 different organizations, but 3 different people represented here, I thought I'd ask, how does your organization deal with the discussion of pay in the early stages of interviewing? Is it something that only the recruiter can connect you with in the HR department, or is it something that the interviewer is able to discuss with the person when they're doing either a phone interview or, I guess, a phone interview, virtual interview?
So I can share how it works. It's a little different too at IU Health, depending on the type of position that you're applying for. But for most of my positions, yes, HR and the recruiter would be the only one that would be able to discuss pay with you. So typically what I do is during kind of an initial phone screening conversation, I will ask what your salary requirements are, just to make sure that we're going to be able to meet what you're looking for, and so that we don't waste your time and you know, a hiring leader's time if it's not going to work out in the end due to compensation. So I do ask for it right up front, and that is just to ensure that it's going to fit in and be a good opportunity for you to continue pursuing.
Yeah, and for us, again, like Christy mentioned, it kind of depends on the role. So for our, I say entry-level sales, but they do require experience. But for our sales positions, we're very upfront about what the actual compensation structure is, as well as what it is. So before someone even does the video, they get some information for their interview with the manager. They get information on our total compensation package, and that does include what the base and commission is. And for other roles, it's going to be the recruiter or HR that would share the information. However, the hiring manager would be able to share, all right, here's a ballpark and here's how it's structured, because our roles have different components in the compensation. So I'll have some type of base pay component, but then there you have commission, or you have quarterly bonuses and some other things depending on the type of role that you're in. And the hiring manager would be able to share what that structure looks like, but maybe not the actual compensation figure.
So thank you. And if during the early stages, like in the IU Health situation, let's say on the application, which I know sometimes it does online, there will be a question for what is your salary requirement? And like Gloria had shared in an earlier workshop, sometimes it's a little scary as to what to put in because you don't want to knock yourself out of the applicant pool at all, but you do want to give a figure that at least reaches minimum wage. So if the person puts the wrong figure in on that application process, does that also keep them from being considered as an applicant, or would the person doing the interviewers at least do them the honor of, well, we want to consider them and we'll talk to them about what pay they might be willing to accept?
I
How
think
does that work?
well, yeah, I think it depends a little. I know for us at IU Health, we don't ask that question on an application. So that's something that if I looked at your experience and I was like, she has a lot of experience, you know, she might be looking for more than we can offer or something like that, then I would email you before I even set up a phone screening and just say, hey, I got your application. Everything looks great. Before we move forward in the process, what are your salary requirements? And so that gives you an opportunity to elaborate a little bit rather than a field where you have to just put one number. So most people will give me a range and they'll say, you know, this is what I'm hoping for. However, you know, I'm willing to negotiate for the right position or something like that. And that's fine. I think I will say that in my previous company, we did have that listed on an application. You had to list what you were looking for. It was that company's practice that if you listed something that was like way too high that we were never going to meet, it was their practice to not move forward. Me personally, I would always email you and just verify, but I do think that there are a small number of companies that do operate like that. So I always encourage, honestly, it puts more work on the recruiter, but I always encourage on that section of an application to, if it'll let you, try to type negotiable or something like that rather than locking yourself into one specific rate. I would recommend a range or typing like negotiable or something like that so that you can actually have the conversation about it. I just think that's better for everyone involved.
And if you're unsure, Carmen, kind of what the range is, you can always do some quick research online to look up and say, okay, I'm going for, I don't know, executive assistant in the Indianapolis area. I have 5 years of experience, and kind of get an idea of, you know, what companies are paying, what companies are offering. So some of that information you'll be able to find just so you can get kind of the ballpark that Christy's talking about.
Perfect. Yes, thank you so much, Pam.
And always, I'm sure that they told you this in one of your sessions as well, make sure you look at the total package. So it's not just that paycheck, it's everything else that goes behind that. So, you know, what are their benefits that they're offering, and benefits like medical and dental, but what's the 401k? Or is there stock? And, you know, how do they take care of their employees? And this is a prime time. It's been very difficult for a lot of companies, but you really see how companies step up and take care of their employees as they've been dealing with this since March. So think about that total package, and when you're applying, and is this somewhere you want to work, and comparing apples to apples when you get those offers.
I think another good question to ask too, in addition to just, you know, thinking about benefits and the culture of the company, is I would recommend asking if they offer, you know, the ability for a raise each year, you know, because I think most companies do, but there are some that don't. So that's a question that I do if that's something that you're interested in.
Great point. Yes, thank you very much.
Cool. Do you guys have anything else you want to share before we go? I know we're over on time and I want you guys to go back to whatever you were doing before this. I'm sure you have more important stuff to do than sit on Zoom all day. Awesome. Well, if not, I recorded this, so this will be put on YouTube in case you guys want to go back to this. I think Carmen and Gloria, you have everybody's email address in case you want to reach out to them one-on-one after this. I'm sure neither of them care. I know that you guys are usually pretty good about sharing your contact information. So yeah, and then I will reach out to you guys, Carmen and Gloria, and let you know about your graduation gift and how you want to receive it. And then Liz and I will get you the talk hiring information. Gloria, I'm not sure if you got to hear all that in the beginning with your internet issues, but Talk Hiring has the recorded interviews that you could do that Pam kind of talked about with her company as well. So if you guys want to use that, you're more than welcome to. If you don't want to use that, you don't have to, but we'll get you that information hopefully today. If not, definitely tomorrow. We just got to put it together and figure out how to walk you through how to log in. But Liz said it was pretty simple. Yeah, thank you guys for being on the call. Thank you, Christy, Kelly, and Pam for jumping on and helping us. I know this is a lot different than what we usually do, but I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Yeah,
Great
our
to see
pleasure.
everyone.
Thank you.
It's good to, it's good to see the faces.
Awesome. Well, have a good day, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.